Digital nomad life looks incredible from the outside, but after doing it on and off for the past 5 years, I've put down my traveling boots because it's not everything that it seems, just like this plate. Anyways, now that I have this band-aid on my finger, digital nomad life can look like a dream. From the beautiful beaches to the incredible experiences everywhere you go, it can really look like the ultimate dream life for anybody that's looking to travel or work remotely or have something for themselves. But there's a point in every digital nomad's life that can come as early as 6 months or for some as long as 10 years plus, where the digital nomad life becomes an inconvenience rather than something that's really enjoyable. Let me paint the backstory. It's late 2016 and I had been talking about traveling for the past year. Everyone that I was in college with, all my friends, they all knew that I was gonna go to Australia for a year. Why Australia? Because the year before that, I had just found out that they do something called a working holiday visa, where you can go there as an American, travel around and work for a whole entire year. So after graduating and saving up some money, the first thing I did was get a one-way ticket out to Australia, where I remember stepping out of the plane and the first thing that I felt was, damn, I'm not home anymore. The weather had completely flipped, everything was completely different, the accents, the people, the greenery, I mean, everything. And it was at this point where I only knew that I needed to pick up a job and I didn't really have anything going for me at that point. Fast forward 2 years and by this point I had seen most of Australia, all of New Zealand, and had a freelancing job that I was working on the road. It was right around this time where I decided I wanted to come back home for about 2-3 months, get a certification so that I could go to China and actually teach English in person. That's when COVID hit. At that point, I was obsessed with travel and the experiences that I had for those 2 years. I was broke, but I was really living life. Started a podcast around travel, started a business that could support that travel lifestyle, and took 1 to 2 month trips whenever I could throughout those 2 years, whether it was with friends or other entrepreneurs, to go travel and work in different places. A lot happened in those 2 years. At that point, priorities shifted. My business started growing, I met a girl, and I realized my love wasn't to travel anymore, but rather to really grow the business, something I never expected of myself. I don't know, perhaps it was a challenging aspect of it, or perhaps it just felt like a game to me, but the business kept me so much more occupied than thoughts and dreams of travel. I wanted to give digital nomad life one more solid chance. So Tessa and I, we started planning a whole year of travel to go from Colombia, Brazil, South America, then jump out to Europe midway, and then work our way out from Eastern and Western Europe, and then finally travel back around and come back to these States at the end of December 2023. And let me tell you, this time was completely different. As a business owner, you're already juggling a million different things. So when I went to go travel, I couldn't really see the place that I was at. I was too focused working in my business, on my business, working 13, 14-hour days. It really just felt like working from a different office, but without any of the things that I needed on a day-to-day basis. I was constantly ordering out, and if I had to go pick up food, it was annoying. Dealing with some of the problems from the Airbnbs that we stayed at, like hot water, Wi-Fi problems, and our bed even broke at one of these places. Even though the experiences that I had in Colombia and Brazil in the beginning of this year were incredible, I didn't really get a chance to enjoy them the way that I wanted to. It felt more inconvenient than anything to be traveling and working on my business at the same time. So after 3 months of being around Colombia and Brazil, we decided to come back home, got a lease within a week, and now I'm staying at this apartment here, shooting videos for you guys. So what's my point and what can you learn from this? The 3 biggest lessons that I've learned from my life as a digital nomad and what you can learn from it and whether the digital nomad life is a good fit for you. Number 1, I think the digital nomad life is best in one of these 3 scenarios. You either have a 9-to-5 job or a lifestyle business / you're a freelancer, which really just supports your traveling ambition instead of focusing on money. Or number 3, you're just picking up jobs locally. And if that's enough to support you where you are, all the more power to you. If you're in any one of those 3 scenarios, you're able to compartmentalize what you're doing for money and what you're doing there for travel. You really get the best of both worlds that way. On top of that, you get to enjoy working from anywhere, except the beach though. That shit isn't true. You're gonna get sand all up in your laptop and you're just gonna get really pissed. The second lesson that I learned is that you have to be okay without community for extended periods of time. If you're someone that gets super lonely super quickly, it's not for you, especially if you're going as a solo traveler. Now, yes, you can stay at hostels and make friends, and honestly, I suggest that no matter how much money you make, but your life still then becomes a revolving door of friends. There are moments that I remember when I was staying at a hostel in Sydney, one of my favorite places on the planet, by the way. I would make some friends who then would leave after 2 months, or I'd end up leaving after 2 weeks, or we'd move to a different city, or they move to a different city, and you try to keep in touch. But you know this better than anybody. If you've ever tried to keep in touch with friends that have moved away, it's tough. You first try keeping in touch every week, and then eventually you run out of things to talk about, and then eventually you just drift apart. Out of all the people that I met from my travels from those 5 years, I can say I really only keep in touch with one person regularly. And the third lesson is, if you are someone that needs a lot of to live, it's not for you. Now, your situation might not be as extreme as some of my situations were. For example, I remember I was in New Zealand traveling around in a camper van, and there were some moments where I was so broke and so isolated away from society, where I'd be stopping at an RV park and showering in the sink at 6 in the morning because my camper van had run out of water and we didn't have any alternative solutions. But even at the lighter end of digital nomad life, most of your life is lived out of a suitcase. The thought process with digital nomad life is, oh, I don't need to pack too much, I'll just buy my shit when I get there. And that's really what it was half the time. One giant 22.5 liter suitcase and one normal backpack. The backpack for my electronics, the suitcase for my clothes. Now, I'm naturally someone that doesn't need a lot of stuff to live, but especially if you're running a business or you're someone that creates videos, or really you just enjoy all the small luxuries in your life, digital nomad life probably isn't the best idea for you. Sure, you can go to Bali and rent a villa and live out there in luxury for a month or two, or go to Puerto Vallarta in Mexico and rent a nice place for super cheap. I'm all about that. Now that's geo arbitrage. If you go live somewhere and you live for an extended period of time, you're essentially an expat and not a digital nomad. Digital nomads are people that pick up their stuff every month or every few months and go travel around. So digital nomad life, very inconvenient. But as an expat, you really just get rid of all the negatives that I mentioned over the past few minutes here, and that's a completely different story. Now, the exact opposite of that is if you're somebody that's fine with being uncomfortable a lot, easily makes new friends, is fine with a revolving door of friends in a new community every once in a while, can live minimally without much stuff, and doesn't own a business that's in the growing phase, all the more power to you. Digital nomad life is for you, and especially if you love travel, I don't see a reason not to. So go enjoy yourself. I hope you found some value from this video. Hit that subscribe button, it really shows support. I'll be coming out with videos at least once a week here. Thanks for tagging along. See ya.